Welcome back to HQ Spotlight here on CBS Sports Network. The Atlanta Falcons added 5 new faces via the draft over the weekend, mostly attacking the defensive side of the ball. They did bolster their wide receiver room, though, at least for one more season. They pick up the fifth-year option of Drake London. Offensive coordinator Zach Robinson referring to London as, quote, a dog. And that after he's coming off of a career season. He eclipsed 1,000 yards for the first time in his career, had a career-high 9 touchdowns as well. That's more than double than his original record set his rookie year, where he had just 4. So taking a look here at the options available for a lot of these guys, I want to point your attention to the right side of your screen. The left is who we have seen extended. Guys like Kyer Illam, who just got to the Cowboys. We'll see if they pick up his 5th-year option there. Evan Neal, the O-tackle out in New York, has been kind of up and down across his season. Oh, by the way, Kenny Pickett on the Browns roster, will he get a 5th-round extension, or excuse me, a 5th-year extension? Let's talk about it as we welcome in CBS Sports writer Tyler Sullivan to the mix. Tyler, a lot to break down here as we get started, but I do want to start the conversation with Drake London, coming off of a career season where he really established himself as wide receiver 1 out in Atlanta. How important was this to get this deal extension done with Drake London?
Yeah, and it was a no-brainer, right? Like, you're concerned about some of these guys getting the 5th-year option, but when you look at what Drake London was able to do last season, finally with stable quarterback play, and again, I say that stable quarterback play, even though there was a quarterback change in the midst of last season, you saw what we all hoped he would become when they drafted him in the first round, over 1,200 yards receiving, and I think that they're just scratching the surface here with Drake London, specifically because now they're transitioning to Michael Penix. Michael Penix started 3 games for the Atlanta Falcons towards the tail end of that season, and Drake London went absolutely berserk. 22 receptions, 352 yards, and 2 touchdowns when Michael Penix was his quarterback. Again, small sample size, but if you project that over a full 17-game regular season, you're talking about a Drake London season where, listen to this, 125 catches, 1,995 yards, and 11 touchdowns. We're talking about a dude that is a legit #1 wide receiver in the NFL. He's winning you your fantasy football league, and he's helping the Atlanta Falcons win the NFC South. If that's what we're talking about, again, small sample size, certainly won't exceed those numbers, but this is the type of player that you apply the 5th-year option to, and there's really no way about it.
I mean, you see the names that he was stacked up next to when it comes to the 4th most receiving yards in the NFL of all of last season, the fantasy angle, the morale angle as well for Falcons fans too. They certainly got a good one there for at least one more year with Drake London. Let's move on and talk about the Jags, Tyler, because I said this earlier in the show. The most exciting moment of the draft, in my opinion, was them trading with the Browns to secure Travis Hunter there at number 2. So they maybe addressed the secondary with that pick while also attacking the wide receiver room. But Devin Lloyd, kind of a question mark here, waiting to see. In fact, they've said that they are not picking up the 5th-year option for him. When you look at his numbers, I mean, he had 113 tackles last year, 2 sacks, an interception, a forced fumble. Why did they choose to not pick up the option there for Lloyd?
Yeah, it's a good question. Again, those tackles, they led the team. So you're talking about someone who was a former first-round pick, is leading the team in tackles. A little bit of a one-dimensional player. I think that's part of the reason why you're not necessarily seeing them pick up that option. Not great in coverage, kind of gets exploited in that area of the defense. And the other thing is, and you pointed to it a little bit when we're talking about that trade up to the number 2 overall pick to go get Travis Hunter, this is a new regime. This is James Gladstone's organization. This is Liam Cohen's organization. This is not the front office that selected him in the first round all those years ago. And so when you have those new regimes come in and you have those old players from the old guard, that's when you become a little bit expendable, especially when you might not be what they want now in their roster, what they specifically want in their defense. If they want someone with a little bit more coverage experience against the pass, he's not that guy. And when you draft someone in the 4th round, they drafted a linebacker out of Notre Dame in the 4th round over the weekend, that's kind of telling you he's not necessarily part of their plan going forward.
Yeah, it's always tough, especially, he's a former first rounder. You have the expectations. I think the good news there is that someone will be in the market for a high profile linebacker. So tells you a little bit about his future going forward, just not out in Jacksonville. All right, let's continue the conversation talking about the Eagles. We know that they find all of the riches from the Georgia Bulldogs defensive side of the ball. We've seen that over and over again. We even saw it replicated in this year's draft, Tyler. But they put their focus on Jordan Davis, a guy who has certainly lived up to the hype. He gets the fifth-year extension there, played in all 17 regular season games. He turned it up a notch as well in the postseason with some big performances. Another conversation where this feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's someone that you especially want to keep around when you are looking at a Super Bowl title defense. They lose Melton Williams in free agency, so you want to keep as much as your core along the defensive line as humanly possible. And Jordan Davis, maybe not in that same star power as Melton Williams or certainly Jalen Carter, but a player on this defense and really has been known as a run stuffer throughout the course of his tenure here with the Philadelphia Eagles, but has come on in terms of rushing the passer. You noted it in the postseason. He really started to show up as a pass rusher, a sack in the NFC Championship game, a sack in the Super Bowl. This is a guy that had one sack during the regular season. So, and Howie Roseman even talked about this at the annual meeting down in Florida earlier this offseason. When you start to evaluate these young players, it's how they ended the season and how they project going forward. And so if you're looking at a guy like Davis and you're telling yourself, hey, listen, if he's starting to attack the quarterback like we saw at the tail end of last season, along with what he's giving you in terms of stopping the run, this is an ascending player. This is someone that we want to keep in this organization going forward. So again, seeing what he can be over the next couple of seasons, now that they've established him with the fifth-year option, makes all the sense in the world.
We talk about defense. It was maybe a season to forget in terms of the secondary defense if we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens. I just know that every single time we talked about them, it was like they were great, but their passing defense stinks. They have a couple of players who are up for that fifth-year option, one of them being Kyle Hamilton, the other being the center in Tyler Lindenbaum. Is there one here, in your opinion, Tyler, that is more of a priority than the other? Do we see the Ravens lock up both of these guys here? What's the approach?
Yeah, so the Ravens are picking up the option for Kyle Hamilton, and as we noted, some of these guys are no-brainers, and Kyle Hamilton certainly fits that mold. He is someone that is a ultimate Swiss Army knife on the Baltimore Ravens defense. Yes, that secondary had its struggles, but did come on towards the tail end of last season, and Hamilton was one of the big reasons why. And he's someone who's been a Pro Bowl player, an All-Pro player over the last couple of years. He's only 24 years old, and now that they've added Malachi Starks in the first round of the draft, I am fascinated to see how this safety group performs in 2025 and beyond. And again, Kyle Hamilton's someone who you don't even lose sleep about it because you just know you're going to give him that fifth-year option. And ultimately, I think that this is one of those players where down the line, he could be rivaling to reset the safety market when they sign him eventually to an extension. And then speaking of extensions, Tyler Linderbaum is another guy that they did not pick up the option, but they noted today in a statement that they're going to work towards signing him towards an extension. And that makes sense. You might say, okay, well, if you're going to sign him to an extension, why not put the placeholder in terms of a fifth-year option? Well, because he made a Pro Bowl, the number goes up, and he's going to be making on that fifth-year option, had they picked it up, around $23 million in 2026. And to just put that in perspective, he would be far and away the highest paid center in the NFL. Currently, that belongs to Creed Humphreys in Kansas City, who's making around $18 million. So again, it's not even like it's relatively close. You're not going to sign that player to that type of a contract, but you will sign him to some sort of extension, and I think it would be more palatable in that $17, $18 million a year range as opposed to that $23 million.
Yeah, when I wrote that number down, that $23.4 million, I was like, oh my gosh, like I hope when I have a kid one day that he plays center, and that's the type of extension that he's looking at going forward. The money is crazy. Tyler, we're going to stick on the offensive line here and go and talk about my Dallas Cowboys. I don't know what their obsession is with the name Tyler, but if you are interested in being on the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, you got a good shot because your name is Tyler there. They do pick up the fifth-year option, though, when it comes to Tyler Smith, the most veteran of all the Tylers on that list. In my opinion, Tyler Sullivan, this had to get done because he has just been leaps and bounds one of the better draft picks that we have seen as the years have gone on. But what do you think about a guy like Kaiir Elam? They brought him over in the offseason via the Bills by that trade. What do you think the Cowboys should do here, especially when they're so stingy with their pockets?
I know. I feel like I got to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. I think I got to jump on with you, too. Tyler Smith, Tyler Sullivan. I mean, come on. It really is a match made in heaven. And Tyler Smith is, again, one of those guys where you look at it and you go, sometimes they're obvious, and this is another one that's totally obvious. Once he kicked into guard, he turned into one of the better players at his position in the NFL. Pro Bowl each of the last 2 seasons, and All-Pro in 2023. I think he ranked like 14th or 15th in the NFL in pass protection last year amongst all guards, left or right. So, again, a premier player. And the other thing that you noted, he is the veteran guy. He's the old head in this room, and we're talking about a 5th-year option because you lose Zach Martin to retirement this offseason. To a lesser degree, Tyron Smith wasn't with the team last year but retired with the Cowboys this offseason. It is a total changing of the guard along the offensive line in Dallas. So to have him in tow to kind of carry the baton in terms of leadership, I think that's just as important as to what he gives you on the field to really mold these young guys coming in along the line. And then Kyrie Elam, typically when you see guys get traded over the course of their rookie contract, you don't necessarily pick up those 5th-year options, so I'm not expecting it from him, but we'll see what he does in the secondary next year.
I'm just envisioning the line. It's like Tyler, Cooper, Tyler, Terrence. And then you mentioned Tyron Smith we replaced from retirement there. It's a mess, the Cowboys O-line. They're going to have to get some nicknames for sure as they get set for the season. Last one before we let you go, Tyler Sullivan. This one just rolling in. The Jets extending their trio, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson. Just the impact for the Jets, who could really use a boost on all sides of the field here.
Yeah, again, most of them, you're not that surprised. Garrett Wilson, of course, you want to keep. Sauce Gardner, you want to keep. Jermaine Johnson, maybe the most question mark out of the 3 of them, but still, you're talking about a new head coach in Aaron Glenn, defensive side of the ball. He wants to have as many young playmakers as humanly possible. So keeping Sauce Gardner in your secondary, even after a down season, makes all the sense in the world. Jermaine Johnson, you keep a young pass rusher, and Garrett Wilson has a built-in rapport with Justin Fields, who you signed in free agency from their days at Ohio State. All of these guys make sense. I'm not really raising my eyebrows in any one of them because of how important they've been to the core in the previous regime and then going forward. These are some of the stars of the New York Jets. And so if you can keep these guys in tow for at least through 2026, you have to do it.
Hey, real quick, Tyler, while I have you, we had this conversation with Lige earlier, and he said that he would rather have Justin Fields than Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback. I'm just curious your thoughts there. Who would you rather have, Justin or Trevor?
I think I got to go with Trevor Lawrence right now. As much as I like Justin Fields and the potential, I at least know that Trevor Lawrence can complete a pass. I don't necessarily know if Justin Fields can do that on a regular basis. Dynamic with his legs, but we haven't seen the consistency throwing the football, and that's kind of important when you're a quarterback.
Yeah, all right, we'll see. Maybe that extension there with Garrett Wilson changes things, and he can complete a lot of passes to them. I'm sure Jets fans would love to see it. Tyler Sullivan joining us to talk 5th-year options. We saw a lot of guys get extended, and that's good because the deadline to do so is coming up on May 1st. As you take a look at the upcoming NFL dates, all counting down to that Hall of Fame game between the Lions and the Chargers at the end of July.